In just under a month, the Detroit Lions will have participated in the 2025 NFL Draft, and we'll know who indeed they're going to take. There's been a lot of talk on if the Detroit Lions are going to take a pass rusher with that first round pick, or will they trade out of it or trade back or trade forward? We know Brad Holmes is notorious for doing that. There's no doubt about it that we need a defensive lineman between free agency and the draft. I think we need one in both. But who will the Detroit Lions pick, and will they prioritize the defensive line? Brad Holmes has had primarily a stellar draft pick, unless, of course, we're talking about Broderick Martin. Sorry about that. I could not help myself, man. It is what it is. But who will the Detroit Lions take with that 28th pick, or wherever pick they decide to move to in the 2025 NFL Draft? Well, they met with a lot of people leading up to the combine, and we know that the Detroit Lions have kind of historically, they've taken guys that they've met with. Now, they haven't taken every individual, every player that they've met with, but guys that they meet with at the combine, they traditionally take. You've got Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta. I believe they met with Hendon Hooker as well. So a lot of the people that they have these interviews with, they wind up being on the Detroit Lions. Well, according to A to Z Sports, here is the list of players that the Detroit Lions have met with through Thursday or Friday, the 28th of February. Let's take a look. Now, the first day that they met with players, it was nothing but D-line. Looks like they got edge Savion Jones, Marshall edge Mike Green. There's been a lot of kind of interest in him. Ohio State edge Jack Sawyer. He could be there when we pick. Linebacker Pooh Paul. Edge Jalen McLeod, looks like. Linebacker Cody Lindenberg. Linebacker Kobe King. Alabama linebacker Jihaad Campbell. Now, this guy here is the real deal. He's smaller, not a prototypical edge rusher. He kind of reminds me of what they were saying Isaiah Simmons was going to be. I mean, this dude is everywhere. The ability to rush the passer, drop back in coverage. Very quick individual, man. I wouldn't be mad if we took him. If we signed like a Khalil Mack in free agency and then got Jihaad Campbell, I wouldn't be mad at all. I know Myles Garrett is a long shot. Oklahoma State edge Colin Oliver, another edge, Howard Cross, D lineman Kenneth Grant from Michigan. And then we get off to the safeties. Jonah Sanker, Andrew Mukuba, tight end Thomas Fadone, tight end Jackson Hawes. You know what's funny is that the Detroit Lions seem like every draft they're taking a tight end. In 2022, we took James Mitchell. He's no longer on the team. In 2023, we took Sam Laporta. 2024, we didn't take one. I wouldn't be surprised if Brad does take a tight end somewhere in this draft. We better get that D-line solidified, though. There's no doubt about it. We've got, I think we said Jackson Hawes. We've got CJ, what is that, Dupree? We've got cornerback O.D. Fortune, another cornerback, Kobe Bryant. So is that two guys named Kobe Bryant in here? No, Kobe King and Kobe Bryant. Cornerback Darian Porter, CB.A. Thomas, cornerback Quincy Riley, wide receiver Eric A., wide receiver Pat Bryant, quarterback Jalen Milroe, and Tennessee wide receiver Brew McCoy. Now, out of this list, what stands out? All right, let's look at what Brad Holmes has done. He loves his Crimson Tide. So I could see Jihaad. Let's look through this list. Jihaad Campbell, if he falls to 28, I don't know if he will. 28, but some mock drafts have him going in early second, late first. So he might, I don't know. That's the beauty about the draft. It's not a crapshoot all the time. So we've got one from Alabama. We've got tight end Dupree. that he's from Alabama. Then you have Jalen Milroe. Now, this name is probably the most intriguing to me because you have the situation of Hendon Hooker. The only reason that the Detroit Lions, in my opinion, would draft Jalen Milroe is if they are going to move on from Hendon Hooker, because it makes no sense. Jared Goff is under contract for the next 3 years. If you were to take Jalen Milroe, it wouldn't be in the first round. So then you would have him for 4 years. Hendon Hooker only has 2 left. So you could draft Milroe, and Jared Goff would have 3 more years on this contract. Hendon has 2. Jalen would have 4. So Jalen could possibly be the replacement for Goff 3 years from now. Goff is not going anywhere for 3 years. Go look at his contract. It's not happening. So that's the only reason I could see you drafting a quarterback, is if you wind up moving on from Hendon Hooker. Now, I have to be very frank with you. I like a lot of things on this list, but I am a bit nervous because the Detroit Lions have to solidify the defensive line. That's all you're going to hear from me over the next 2 months. We've got to solidify the defensive line. What we decide to do in free agency will dictate how we approach the NFL draft. If we sign a quarterback, what pick right now would you spend on Milroe if you decided to take him, knowing that we need defense? You also see a bunch of cornerbacks on this list. It seems like the cornerback position is Brad's favorite position. He said during his combine interview that they were very weak at cornerback, and that he had to solidify that as well. Now, in my opinion, you've addressed the cornerback. You've, from Cam Sutton to Emmanuel Mosley to Brian Branch. Anything in the secondary, you have went hard. Just look at his draft and free agency acquisitions over the last 4 years. Let's discard year 1. But let's look at Cam Sutton. You traded for Carlton Davis, knowing he was going to be a 1-year rental. You draft Brian Branch. You draft Ennis Rakestraw. You draft Terrion Arnold. You draft Kirby Joseph. You know what I'm saying? Like you've done plenty, and we still are thin. Now it's time to get that D-line right, because if you get that D-line right, you could have a less than stellar secondary. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not too fond of Darius Slay. I think I told you this before. Darius Slay, to me, has always been a product of his defensive line. Now you got CJ Gardner-Johnson over there yapping his mouth like he did something, right? So the D-line is the key. And that, to me, is what Brad Holmes needs to focus on. He needs to he cannot miss. That's where most of his assets need to go. And it doesn't need to be a lot, but they need to be quality. If we were to, let's say Jihaad Campbell does last, right? We still need a guy on the D-line, like 3-point stance, hands in the dirt. So if you got Hutch, and I can't believe I'm about to say this because you would think it was 5-6 years ago. If you were to bring me Khalil Mack, you still have Zadarius Smith, and you drafted Jihaad Campbell, I would not be mad at that. Like, I understand that Myles Garrett is a unicorn, that some team is going, and I would hate for it to be the Eagles. I'd rather see the Commanders get him than the Eagles get him. But I understand that it's like a 1 in 30 chance, 1 in 31 chance he lands in Detroit. I understand that. But the Detroit Lions control who they draft based off who's still on the board at 28. If you drafted Jihaad Campbell and he's more of a linebacker, right? He plays where he rushed the passer. You know what'd be funny is if we got that guy, if we took Campbell, and you guys have been, when I was talking about Brian Burns and, you know, all of these guys that we could get that are classified as linebackers, outside linebackers or whatever, all this talk that you guys were doing, that'd be funny if we actually wind up taking one, a pass rushing linebacker in the NFL draft. But I wouldn't be mad at that. Khalil Mack, opposite Hutch. You still got Zadarius Smith who can fill in, give him a breather, even though Khalil Mack is older than Zadarius Smith. But I think that Khalil Mack was playing starter, man. Khalil Mack would be the starter. You have Zadarius Smith. You would have Campbell in there as well. So, and maybe you do some cleanup. You still got Muhammad, you signed to a future reserve. So you got some guys, some depth. I mean, maybe even at that point, you do re-sign Marcus Davenport. I don't know. But if Brad Holmes, he has to, he cannot miss. That's all I can really say. You cannot miss. You're going into year 5. You know the D-line is a liability. If you're not going to spend big, if you're not going to swing big, then you need to get some quality players the way that you do. And he hasn't done that on that D-line. He really, DJ Reader, yes. DJ Reader. Name one free agent outside of DJ Reader on the D-line that has made an impact. One free agent, not a trade, not a draft pick. One free agent on the D-line that is made outside of the name of DJ Reader. There's no wrong answer. It's whatever you see. If you see that somebody's made an impact, I really off the dome can't even name one. John Kaminsky, he didn't do anything last year. So you might have been able to say him 3 years ago, but not now. So you've got some curious cases here. There's a lot of things that we need on this list. If you look at here, we could use a wide receiver. But my concern is that D-line. I mean, we could use a cornerback. You never can be too deep at any position. But if I had to prioritize, I got to say D-line. I have to say D-line. That's the first thing I would do. Then I would do wide receiver. Then I would probably do cornerback because we don't have another wide receiver. Tim Patrick is not on he would not be on our team. As far as officially, he's still on the team because the new league year hasn't started. Unofficially, he has to be re-signed. If that makes sense, however you say that. So he's a free agent. That's the bottom line. And we have to bring him back. Without him being on the team, we've got the 7th round, Antoine Green, Khalif Raymond, who they're talking about they may cut. Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So there's a lot of team needs. Brad Holmes has to be locked in. He cannot, no more projects, no more misses. You can't have it. You cannot afford to have another Ennis Rakestraw. You cannot afford to have another Broderick Martin. It is what it is. And this is what I keep telling y'all about. I think a lot of you, I see you in the comment section. I read my comments. If I don't respond, it's because I want you to keep commenting because it's dialogue. But it's getting to the point now, which this is awesome, that if I don't respond like in the first hour, then I can't respond because it's just so many comments, which I appreciate tremendously. But I'm in the comment section and I understand. Don't believe me. I read what you guys are saying. And the Lions have some work to do. And here's what I was going to say. Brad Holmes, it's not me making this stuff up. It's not that I don't believe in him. It's the fact that if you are not enough, most NFL teams will find enough. They will find somebody who is enough. They will find the general manager to take you over the hump. Wouldn't it be a shame if Brad Holmes builds this team, builds the foundation, builds up the team, and then he gets canned later on? I'm not talking about in the next 2 years. I'm not even talking about in the next 4 years. But I have to be honest with you. In 4 years, if we haven't progressed to a Super Bowl, maybe I could see Brad Holmes not being the answer. And the Detroit Lions might consider moving on. It's already been 4 years. So I want you to put in the comment section below. I'm going to let you make this decision. If Brad Holmes does not make a Super Bowl, if the Detroit, it doesn't matter. It's a yes or no question. You can elaborate if you want, but there's no excuses, right? I don't want you to attrition. If the Lions, it's a yes or no answer. Do you think if the Lions make a Super Bowl or don't make a Super Bowl in the next 4 seasons, so 2025, 6, 7, don't forget, they're only signed through 2027, 25, 26, 27. So let's do that. If the Detroit Lions do not make a Super Bowl by the end of Brad Holmes' contract, should he be retained or should the Lions move on? It's a yes or no answer. There's no in between. If Brad Holmes does not make a Super Bowl, I know he doesn't play, but he puts the team together. If the Detroit Lions do not make a Super Bowl and by the time his contract is up, should the Detroit Lions move on and find somebody who takes us over the hump? Yes or no? That's it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Answer the question if you don't mind. I am in the comments, but it's hard to respond to, a lot of them. But just know that I read, but it's hard to respond. So I'm one of them. I'm like, I'm getting to the point which is awesome. Don't get me wrong, where if I don't respond, how like big creators they'll be like, for the first hour, I'm in the comment section. It's crazy, man. I never thought that we would be that big, but I appreciate you. I really cannot do this without you guys. So thank you so much. Also, I got a couple surprises for the new league year, and I'm excited about it. We'll see what happens if I have enough time. Let's put it like this. I might be looking to hire an editor. Let's put it like that. This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. It's because of your support I get to do what I do. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. If you guys know of any editors, a decent editor, please let me know, because my hands are full. I'm going to probably have to hire somebody to edit. All right? You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions. When I say hire, I simply mean pay. I'm not like that. I'm not a boss yet.